Go.
Hey guys, with us kind of spending less time in the gym, we are gonna give you some at-home content slash things you should do or knowledge for you to kind of better yourself during this time. Our first one, as we talked about the other day, this is a good time to kind of reflect, reset your lives, but also recover, rehab. We're sitting home all day, you probably have a little extra time in your hands, so we're gonna give you some beneficial tools and knowledge to use in the future. So kind of our first little segment we're gonna talk about here is, like I just said, good recovery, rehabilitation, and this is not only if you have an injury, but this is preventative maintenance. Everything kind of falls in line. So we're gonna kind of go through three big overall categories to focus on when trying to keep yourself safe, prevent injuries, recover from any pain, injuries, damages, and then move better. That's kind of our goal here. So we're gonna go through real quick here. I'm gonna do a little bit of demonstration. Mike's gonna help me out here. And hopefully you guys can kind of use this not only right now when you guys are at home and have a little time on your hands, but also in the future when we start moving again, getting after it. Okay, so recovering and rehab. So we're gonna talk about a couple different areas to focus on here. So we're gonna kind of start from the top down. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3. Our first area we're gonna look at is soft tissue slash myofascial release. Both are very similar. So a couple things here. So soft tissue myofascial release. Myofascial release is, fascia is a layer of connective tissue between skin, muscle, right in between there, between muscles. And that can cause movement or muscle groups a increase in friction inside as they start moving against each other, because muscles constantly move, they lengthen, they contract, they stretch, they contract. That fascia can prevent that from happening. So we want to keep this, again, the fascia, we want to keep our muscles long, and we want to keep that fascia to a minimum. So two things here. We want to think, one, first off, if you have an area of your body or a joint specifically giving you pain, or it's a little uncomfortable, or it feels tight, maybe you have some movement inabilities, all right, so lack of range of motion, that's our first point we want to kind of look at. So soft tissue work around an affected joint. So we can look at Mike, so a good one here, we can look at, like, especially in CrossFit, functional movement, lifting weights, specific joints we can think shoulder, elbow, knee, and hip. All right, those are kind of our big joints there. So when we think of musculature around our joints, all right, we have a lot. So if we look at shoulder, for example, we have like our pec, we have our bicep, we have our trap, we have our lat, we have some teres, we have our deltoids. So we get all this stuff surrounding our joint. If you look at the hip, we have glute, we have hamstring, we have IT band, we have quad, we have hip flexor. A lot of musculature surrounding all these different joints in our body. So our goal here is use what we have to pinpoint the muscle groups around the joint, all right? If we keep those muscles around our joint long and able to move freely as they contract and relax, it's gonna help us, one, keep a better position, two, make us feel a little bit better. So lacrosse ball, you can come in closer a little bit, Matt. So we can think like things around shoulder, we can think pec minor here, we can go all the way to pec or bicep tendon. Again, apply a little bit of pressure. You can get some mobilization, whether it's against a wall, whether it's coming up and down, or it's to the floor. That's okay, but applying a little bit of pressure and movement here is good, and all that will do is help release the muscle or open it up. Other places we can think is lat here, all the way down, keep it off the rib cage, teres, trapezius, deltoid, anterior deltoid, and posterior deltoid, and right in the shoulder. So again, we look to that, several muscle groups right around, we can use the lacrosse ball, all right?
When you say teri, what do you mean teri?
Teres minor. Teres minor, and especially here, your teres, it goes right behind the shoulder, all right, it's above the lat. We're looking at, this causes, actually a lot of times, especially in here, we preach external rotation of the shoulder. So external rotation, as we can see, he turns his thumb back, and that muscle group actually causes this motion of the shoulder. All right, we use that a lot. Olympic lifting, pressing, even push-ups. We do that a lot. So this muscle it's a small muscle, gets overused a lot. So that can cause a lot of shoulder pain, as well as traps. We shrug a lot. Olympic lifting, naturally we shrug. We stay tight up there with deadlifts, even on a back squat. So again, all around here we use without even using it or thinking about it. So keeping those muscles loose, a lacrosse ball, is a good thing to start with. That's usually preliminary number one. We can do the same thing. Foam roller, think lacrosse ball is micro, foam roller is macro, small muscles, bigger muscles, all right? Think of this just like a rolling pin, all right? Exact thing. We're keeping long muscles nice, big, and smooth. And again, we think around the joints that's bothering us. So foam roller, we usually think about like, we can use like lat here underneath as we roll on the side of our body, something like that. But we mainly think of foam roller, we think our posterior chain, glutes, hips, hamstrings. We think anteriorly, quads, both abductor, adductor, IT band, and as well as calves. So if our knee is bothering us, everything connected to that knee in some way, shape, or form, we should be looking at using a foam roller or lacrosse ball on. So quad, both inside, outside, calf. We can think even front to the tibia, all right? And then also, our knee still affected, posteriorly hamstring.
Mike, can you turn a bit?
Hamstring, glute, all right, IT band, all the way up to our hip right here, all right? So knee pain, we have to work the whole, again, both everything above and below the joint, all right? Same thing applies to the hip, glute, hamstring, quad, hip flexor, and even up into our lower back area a little bit, all right? But everything connected all the way through this chain can affect that one joint. So keeping it loose, using a lacrosse ball or foam roller is a good place to start.
7 minutes.
We're at 7 minutes?
We're at 7.
That's okay.
Okay. Just
All right. If we look to overuse muscle groups, it's good. If we're using a muscle group a lot, that means muscles. We have muscles, bones, they come into play, tendons, ligaments get used a lot. Okay, so if muscles get tight, the ligaments and tendons surrounding that joint, they're also going to get overused, where we hear like tendinitis, inflammation of the joint, inflammation of the tendons. So keeping the muscles, like we hear a lot around like knee, elbow, shoulder, keeping those muscles that are overused longer will help decrease the pressure we have in our tendons. So again, we think knee, a lot of times we have knee, one, overuse of the knee or the patellar tendon. Keeping our quad relatively loose and long, using a foam roller, will help us. Same thing, elbow tendinitis, tennis elbow, is caused by excessive squeezing, all right? So we can see Mike squeeze, we can see his extensors in his forearms start to move, all right? So these get overused, can affect the elbow joint. So this is kind of hard. We can use a lacrosse ball a little bit, maybe a barbell, but another good tool is voodoo band, all right? We wrap it around, just like toilet paper, we go over the top, wrap it around the affected muscle group, we hold it, we do a little muscle contraction, squeeze your hands, good. And it's gonna give you a little natural soft tissue work. We work above and below the joint, both bicep too. But again, the muscle group that's being overused, we still wanna get that area too. And the same thing applies for all our different joints, all right? Number 2, biggest one we stress a lot is fixing some sort of muscular imbalance or weakness. All right, so in anything, we want to try to stay as balanced as possible in our body. That is also referred to as kind of actually not inside of our body, but externally as well. Again, we want to keep balance through our muscle groups. So this can mean front to back, so anterior to posterior. So if we think example of this is like, if Mike's pec is stronger than his scapula back here, he could have an imbalance which could cause kyphosis in his shoulder to come forward. So we want him to maintain a good position. We need to have a balance of strength between pec and scapula, rhomboid, trap, lat, everything back here, all right? Left to right, same thing. If Mike's right arm is a lot stronger than his left arm, all right, it can cause him to favor one side or the other. which could cause over the long term poor movement, could cause some sort of injury. And what we have in here, barbells are awesome, all right? But barbell takes this stronger arm, compensates for his weaker arm. Over a longer period of time, his stronger arm is doing a lot more work. So this one's actually kind of in danger over a long period of time of getting injured or overuse, just like we took before, some sort of tendinitis, all right? So in this case, we need to strengthen left to right. So simple things we can do, Mike, just like we do in class. This side's strong, this side's weaker. We use the same weight, we strengthen this side. Whether it be a press overhead, could be a horizontal press on the ground, but we need to strengthen left to right. From there, antagonist and agonist is essentially one muscle is contracting, the other muscle is controlling in some way. So the most simple idea of this is at some of our big lever joints, or knee or elbow. So if Mike is performing a curl, his bicep is contracting, but his tricep's actually working too, all right? So as he goes down, his tricep is controlling or stabilizing that muscle. So again, he curls up, his biceps movement. As he comes down, his bicep's still working, but his tricep is controlling the descent of his arm, okay? So same thing if we look to lower joint. Mike is gonna be using predominantly quad if he does an extension motion or a squatting motion from the midfoot, but his hamstring is still working. So you wanna just sit on the bench right behind you. Good, so if Mike extends his knee, his quad's working, but his hamstring is controlling, come down. All right, same thing if he was to curl the opposite way, it would be this hamstring work and his quad was controlling. So we need a balance between these two muscle groups. If his quad is a lot stronger than his hamstring, his quad's gonna be overused. So Mike needs to strengthen his hamstring to catch up to his quad. So simple isolation movements as far as hamstring curls, quad leg extensions, as well as single leg stuff, things that we can do. Another big area, especially on the knee, is we preach, especially in here, we preach knees out. So overuse of adduction, all right, pressing the knees out. But that means our inner quads, our inner thighs get a little weaker. Okay, so we need to strengthen both inside and outside. Okay, so that's a little tough, but again, we can use like mini bands and stuff like this to do different exercises. So if Mike steps out, he opens the legs. Again, think about what he's using here. He's using his abductors up top and his hips, his glutes, his IT bands. But in order to do it the opposite way, we need to think if abduction is going out, he needs to think of going in, all right? So if he needs to strengthen his glutes, anything that opens up his knees, he's gonna do like that mini band walk that we do in class. Good, yeah, something like that, like a monster walk. If we need to go inside, that's a little tougher. You wanna take it off real quick, Mike? All right, you can connect it to a rig, leave on that one leg. All right, and so Mike can just stabilize himself, and he's gonna step to me on this leg, good. Now he needs to step in, pull himself in. Good, step out, he controls out, step in. Good, and you can attach this to a rig. Simple thing to use the inside of your leg now, so he's pulling in. So we're balancing antagonist versus agonist here, all right, as well as left to right. It's very similar, but getting your musculature balanced, if you feel one thing's really weak, the best thing we can look at here is, can you front squat versus a deadlift? If you can front squat a ton but can't deadlift anything, we have to look at that imbalance. Same thing, can we press a ton with a bench press, right, but can't pull anything, all right? Things that we have to look at. Finally, in this part, as far as pure strengthening, is weakened / damage areas. So if we think of something that maybe I had a sprain essentially is a minor tear of a muscle group or a tendon, something like that. So if we have a sprain, our muscle's getting damaged in some way, so it gets weakened. It causes us pain, it's uncomfortable, even sometimes tendinitis. If we do not use or we compensate with other parts of our body, one, it will cause an imbalance, but two, we actually have to kind of rehab or make that damage area a little bit stronger. So very simple, like if Mike has a shoulder tendonitis problem, and he knows he needs to strengthen this, but it's a little uncomfortable. It's that finding the balance of this kind of sucks and is uncomfortable versus this is going to make me feel better. So, for example, like, hey, it sucks, maybe we need to do some band work, and he needs to do this external rotation, which is his rotator cuff, his labrum. But if he damaged it or had some tendonitis, this might suck a little bit. But if he does it, it will actually make him feel better eventually. It's the balance between, hey, it's weak, so weakness is causing me pain because I'm, one, imbalanced somewhere, two, I'm not using it, three, sometimes the only way to get it better is to strengthen around the joint. So if you look at this, we see this a lot, especially in shoulders, knees, back. So again, we can use like a handle band here to isolate it, but you can even use like a mini band and stuff like that, and do some more simple things, like whether it's like here, like we're opening ourselves up, something to strengthen that direct area of our muscle, right? Or the joint, or something that's overused or damaged. The final part that is kind of the big finishing touch is overall flexibility and movement quality. Okay, so movement quality, if we lack flexibility, movement quality, of course, will be lower. So we want to gain at least a minimum amount of flexibility. So pre-workout flexibility is, we can think of like dynamic, get to a base level of range of motion. So if we think pre-workout flexibility, this is pretty much like performance. Okay, so we're not magically gonna get more flexible by stretching out a little bit right before we work out, all right? But it could, again, make us move a little bit better, so better movement quality, again, decrease injury, move a little bit better, good for a long period of time. So that's why we stretch before we work out, move better, all right? Post-workout, we're warm. This is the time we spend a lot of time stretching, all right? So post-workout, stretch out our big muscle groups for a long period of time. So we're thinking long, static, if I can spell right, stretches. This will help us gain range of motion. So especially people, if you have ongoing back pain, all right, ongoing back pain, it's probably a good idea post-workout to spend 3 to 4 minutes in one stretch just holding it. So that could be like, if you need to stretch out glute, like a pigeon stretch, something like that on the floor. If you need to do hamstring, all right, good, pigeon, basic hamstring stretch, like forward folds. Yeah, good, like a downward, like we get a little child's pose. Come right up. But again, basic hamstring stretch, a good tool to check out with your hamstring. Can you, stand up, Mike, for a second. Can you maintain arch your back with semi-straight legs, a slight knee bend? And can we touch our toes? Maintain position. Good, chest up. Good. He keeps a relatively flat back. So stand up, Mike. Now look like our hamstrings are really inflexible. And lean back, look like a slinky. If this is what we're doing, all right, we probably have some hamstring flexibility issues. We want to fix that. So long static stretches post-workout will help us gain range of motion. Better range of motion will help us move a little better. If you combine great range of motion with strengthening all our imbalances and weaknesses, then you're gonna move really well, all right? And finally, our off days. One, off days are important. So if you're not taking them, take once a week at least where you sit there, don't do a lot and stretch out, maybe a nice slow active recovery type of thing. But off days, it's a good same thing, long static stretches that will help you gain a range of motion. If you want something to do on your off days, stretch, all right? Take 30 minutes, start a clock, long 3 to 5 minute static stretches, all right? Guys, that's about it. That's a 3-step plan. Kind of help with recovery, rehabilitation. If you have questions on this, ask myself, Mike, shoot us an email. We can go into detail about movements, send you some videos and stuff like that, but I hope this helps, gives you a little bit of direction, gives you something to do while you're at home. Have a good day, guys.